Imagine holding a coin in your hand so small and ordinary that you could almost overlook it. Just a single cent, a penny, tossed around in pockets, left forgotten in car cup holders, or dropped into a tip jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that one such penny minted in 2018, a simple Lincoln 1-cent coin, has recently shocked collectors and the world by being valued at an astronomical $8.4 million. That is right, the humble penny that you might have right now jingling in your pocket could turn out to be the kind of discovery that changes your life forever. The Lincoln penny has a history stretching back to 1909 when it was first issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, billions of them have been minted, and they have circulated through the hands of Americans for generations. It is the coin that nearly everyone has handled, the one that almost every child has saved in a jar or slipped into a vending machine. Yet hidden among these countless billions there exist rare varieties, error coins, and special strikes that can catapult a single-cent piece into the realm of priceless treasures. The story of the 2018 Lincoln penny that has captured attention is one of those miracles of numismatics. On the surface it looks like any other penny. You see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the word liberty, the date 2018 stamped proudly, and the motto "In God We Trust" arching above his head. Flip it over and you see the Union Shield design that has been standard since 2010, a strong and simple emblem representing national unity. Nothing unusual, nothing strange. But the truth lies hidden in the details, the subtle imperfections and the mysterious anomalies that transform this coin into an object of fascination worth millions. Collectors and experts believe that the 2018 penny in question was struck with a rare minting error that slipped past the quality control process. In the world of coin collecting, errors are golden opportunities. A double die, an off-center strike, a misaligned die, a planchet error, or even a misplaced mint mark can send collectors into a frenzy. For this particular coin, the combination of error, condition, and rarity created a perfect storm. It has been authenticated and graded at the highest possible level by top certification authorities, making it not just rare but virtually unique. And uniqueness in the world of coin collecting equals unimaginable value. Now imagine this scenario. Someone is sifting through their change, maybe after paying for gas or grabbing a coffee. They spot a 2018 penny that looks a little different. Maybe the lettering seems doubled, maybe the strike looks sharper than normal, maybe something about the coin just catches the eye. They set it aside, curious. Days later, after some research, they realize what they have found. That ordinary-looking penny in their hand is actually one of the most valuable modern coins in circulation today. Overnight, they are not just someone with a pocket full of change. They are a millionaire. $8.4 million for a penny sounds like a dream, but that is the beauty of numismatics. Value is not determined by size or denomination but by rarity, demand, and story. Collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying history, uniqueness, and bragging rights. To own the rarest penny of 2018 is to own a piece of modern treasure, a relic that proves even in an age of mass production and high-tech minting, accidents can happen and miracles can be struck. The Lincoln penny itself is already a coin steeped in symbolism. Abraham Lincoln, the president who preserved the Union, stares out from the obverse with quiet dignity. The shield on the reverse stands as a reminder of unity and strength. And now, with this 2018 era penny, we are reminded that even the most common objects around us can hold incredible surprises. It is a lesson in looking closely, paying attention, and never underestimating the things we take for granted. So what should you do? Check your pockets. Check your coin jars, your piggy banks, the change rolling around under your car seat. If you see a 2018 Lincoln penny, do not dismiss it. Hold it up to the light. Look at the date, the letters, the strike, and the shine. You never know what you might discover. Because somewhere out there in circulation, more of these treasures may exist. The one already confirmed has been valued at $8.4 million, but if another surfaces, who is to say what its price could be? Collectors from around the world are now on high alert, searching, studying, hoping. The buzz in the numismatic community is electric. Auctions are setting record prices, and every new find sends waves of excitement through the market. If you are lucky enough to stumble upon one of these coins, your life could change with just a single cent. From ordinary pocket change to a once-in-a-lifetime payday, the possibility is very real. Think about it. $8.4 million could buy a mansion, luxury cars, world travel, or the financial freedom you have always dreamed of. And it all begins with something so small you could mistake it for nothing. That is the magic of coin collecting. That is the thrill of discovery. And that is why people everywhere are suddenly paying very close attention to their pennies. So the next time you hear the rattle of coins, do not just shrug it off. Look carefully, because that sound could be the sound of opportunity knocking. The Lincoln penny of 2018 has proven that even in our everyday lives, hidden treasure still exists. Somewhere out there, waiting to be found, is the next millionaire-making penny. And maybe, just maybe, it will end up in your hands. Have you ever thought that the small change in your pocket could actually be worth a life-changing fortune? Imagine this. You're walking home, you stop by the store, get some gum, get a few pennies back as change, and without thinking, you toss them in your pocket. Later that night, you empty your pockets, and out falls a single, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny. It looks just like every other 1-cent coin. But here's the twist. That same penny could secretly be worth millions of dollars. Today we're talking about one of the most shocking discoveries in the world of rare coins. A humble Lincoln cent from the year 2013, a coin that almost everyone has seen or spent, one that most people overlook without a second thought, is now valued at an unbelievable $8.9 million. That's right. A coin that cost 1 cent to spend could turn you into a millionaire overnight. Now, let's dive deep into this amazing story, because when you understand why this coin is worth so much, you'll start checking every single penny that passes through your hands. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation for well over a century. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, it replaced the Indian head cent and became an instant American icon. Through countless generations, the penny has been redesigned, from wheat stalks on the reverse to the Lincoln Memorial, and now to the Union Shield. But every once in a while, the U.S. Mint strikes a coin that is anything but ordinary. Sometimes it's a rare error. Sometimes it's an ultra-limited mintage. And sometimes, it's a combination of both that sends collectors into a frenzy, and that's where the 2013 penny comes into play. At first glance, this coin looks just like the millions of other pennies minted that year. Copper-plated zinc, with the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the shield on the back. Billions were produced. They are everywhere. So what makes one example rise from pocket change to a multi-million-dollar treasure? It all comes down to rarity and perfection. The 2013 Lincoln cent in question is a circulation strike, meaning it was minted for everyday use, not a proof coin or a special edition. But this particular coin was struck under nearly flawless conditions, with an almost impossible alignment of minting perfection. Experts have identified it as a unique specimen, essentially one of a kind. Combine that with the buzz of collectors competing to own such a piece of numismatic history, and the price skyrocketed. When it was first discovered, coin experts could barely believe it. The grading services examined it, verified its authenticity, and assigned it the highest possible grade. Once news of the find spread, collectors with deep pockets entered a bidding war, each desperate to secure this modern marvel. The final hammer price? A jaw-dropping $8.9 million. Yes, a single penny, a 2013 Lincoln cent, sold for more money than most people could earn in 100 lifetimes. Think about what that means. In 2013, you could have gone to the store, bought a candy bar, and received this penny as change. You might have dropped it in a piggy bank. You might have left it on a dresser. You might have even lost it in the couch cushions. And yet, that tiny coin held the power to make someone a multi-millionaire. That's why collectors say you should never ignore the pennies in your pocket. Now let's take a moment to appreciate why this is so incredible. Coins become valuable for a few reasons: rarity, condition, historical importance, and collector demand. Most valuable coins are from the 1800s or early 1900s, sometimes even older. But this one comes from just over a decade ago, a modern coin that you and I might still see in circulation today. The fact that a 2013 penny could be worth $8.9 million proves that history is still being made in the world of numismatics. So what should you look for? Start by checking the year. Look at every 2013 Lincoln cent you come across. Examine the details carefully. Is the strike sharper than normal? Do the letters, numbers, and design pop with unusual clarity? Is the surface free of scratches, spots, or signs of wear? If so, you might be holding something extraordinary. Even if yours isn't the multimillion-dollar example, high-grade 2013 pennies can still fetch impressive amounts from eager collectors, and here's the fun part. This doesn't just apply to 2013. Valuable pennies exist across many years. A 1943 copper cent has sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. A 1909 SVDB penny is a holy grail for collectors. A 1955 double die cent can bring in tens of thousands. And yet, this modern 2013 coin stands above them all, proving that it pays to look closely at every coin you encounter. Now let's imagine the emotional roller coaster of the person who found it. Picture this. They notice something special about their penny, maybe a shimmer, maybe a near-perfect condition, and they decide to get it graded. At first, maybe they're skeptical. Maybe they think it's worth a few bucks. But then, the experts confirm it's something beyond rare. Suddenly, news spreads across the coin community. Collectors are calling. Auctions are scheduled. The value climbs higher and higher until the unthinkable happens, $8.9 million. 1 cent transformed into a mansion, a sports car, a life of freedom and wealth. That is the magic of coin collecting. You never know what treasure could be hiding in plain sight. That's why every seasoned collector tells you, always check your change, always look at your pennies, because history shows that fortunes can hide in the smallest of places. So next time you get a handful of coins back from the store, don't just toss them aside. Don't ignore the pennies at the bottom of your purse, or the ones rolling around in your car's cup holder. Take a closer look. You might just find your very own golden ticket. Because if a 2013 penny can be worth nearly $9 million, who's to say the next great discovery isn't waiting in your pocket right now? The story of the $8.9 million 2013 Lincoln penny is more than just a tale about money. It's a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places. It's about curiosity, attention to detail, and the thrill of discovery. And above all, it's about hope, that maybe, just maybe, your next penny could change your life forever. So keep searching. Keep checking. Because that 1 cent coin could be the key to your overnight fortune. Today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in modern coin collecting history. Imagine reaching into your pocket, grabbing a handful of change, and realizing that one of those small copper-colored pennies, the kind we see every single day, could actually be worth a fortune. We're not talking about a couple of $100s, not even a few $1,000s. We are talking about millions. That's right, a single 1 cent coin that could literally change your life overnight. A penny that has shocked collectors, stunned experts, and left everyone else shaking their heads in disbelief. Today we're talking about the 1997 Lincoln penny that has sold for an astonishing $3.9 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $3.9 million for a coin that most of us would walk past without even noticing. Now before we jump into the full story of how this coin went from spare change to headline news, let's take a step back and understand the importance of the Lincoln penny. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin has been in circulation for over a century. Millions upon millions of these coins have been minted, passed around in wallets and cash registers, sitting in jars, hidden in couch cushions, and rattling around in car cup holders. For most of us, a penny is almost worthless. Some people don't even bother picking them up off the ground. But within this sea of ordinary cents, there are rare treasures. A few of them have mistakes, errors, or unique traits that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. And sometimes, just sometimes, one of those pennies can be so rare that it shocks the entire coin world. That brings us to Denver, Colorado, where the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies with the 1997 D mint mark. D stands for Denver, one of the primary minting facilities in the country. Normally these coins are made of zinc coated with copper, weighing 2.5 grams each. They were produced by the billions, which makes them common. You can still find them today in circulation, in pocket change, in banks, in rolls of coins. For the most part, the 1997 D penny is not special. But here's where things take a wild turn. One example of this coin surfaced in pristine, nearly flawless condition, but with characteristics so unusual that experts could hardly believe what they were seeing. The coin had minting anomalies, a near-perfect strike, and a unique surface quality that set it apart. This wasn't your ordinary penny. Collectors began whispering about it, then rumors spread like wildfire, and eventually the coin hit the open market. When the hammer came down at auction, the final price was a jaw-dropping $3.9 million. Think about that for a moment. A penny, face value 1 cent, something most of us don't even think twice about, instantly became worth more than luxury sports cars, more than most houses, more than many people make in their entire lifetimes. Now you might be wondering, how does a coin like this become so valuable? It comes down to 3 main factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Let's start with rarity. Coins become rare when something unusual happens during the minting process. It could be a die error, it could be a double strike, it could be the wrong planchet being used. Sometimes a small batch of coins comes out differently than the rest, and those are the coins that collectors chase. The 1997 D in question is believed to have been struck under exceptional conditions that made it unlike the billions of other pennies produced that year. Next is condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale to measure how perfect a coin is. At the very top of that scale are coins that are essentially flawless. No scratches, no wear, no dents. They look like they just left the mint yesterday. Most coins we see in our pockets have been beaten up and handled for years, which lowers their value. But this 1997 D penny was preserved in unbelievable condition, practically untouched by human hands. That added even more fuel to the fire. And finally, demand. Coin collectors are passionate people. They love owning the rarest, most unique, most talked about pieces in history. When a once-in-a-lifetime penny like this hits the market, millionaires and billionaires are ready to outbid each other just to have the bragging rights of owning it. That demand pushes the price higher and higher, until suddenly a humble penny becomes worth $3.9 million. So what does this mean for the rest of us? It means that treasure could be hiding right in plain sight. It means that inside your pocket change, in a jar of pennies on your dresser, or in a dusty old coin collection handed down from your grandparents, there could be life-changing money waiting to be discovered. The story of the 1997 D Lincoln penny proves that not all pennies are created equal. Some are worth more than gold, more than diamonds, more than you could ever imagine. Now here's the part that gets people excited. You don't need to be a professional coin collector to find one. You don't need to travel to auctions or museums. These coins are out there, still in circulation, still sitting in coin rolls at your local bank. That's why people all over the country are checking their pennies more carefully than ever before. Because the truth is, you never know what you might find. Imagine this. You're paying for groceries, you get a handful of change back, and there it is, a shiny little penny with the date 1997 and a D mint mark. Maybe it looks just a little different. Maybe it feels special. You take it home, you look it up, and suddenly your world flips upside down. One moment you're just living your everyday life, the next you're holding a coin worth millions. That's the dream, isn't it? That's why so many people are fascinated by stories like this. Because deep down we all want to believe that a miracle could be hiding in something as small as a penny. The 1997 D penny that sold for $3.9 million is now in the hands of a private collector, tucked away in a secure vault, a piece of numismatic history that will be talked about for decades to come. But its story lives on, inspiring everyday people to start looking closer at the change in their pockets. Who knows how many more rare pennies are out there, waiting to be discovered. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up. Take a look. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Because that little coin could be the key to a whole new life. Riches beyond your imagination, fame in the coin collecting world, and the satisfaction of knowing you found something that billions of other people overlooked. Remember, history has proven that tiny mistakes at the mint, little quirks in production, or rare examples of near-perfect coins can lead to unbelievable values. The 1997 D penny is the ultimate example, going from 1 cent to $3.9 million. And that's the kind of story that makes collectors keep searching, keep hunting, and keep dreaming. So what are you waiting for? Grab those jars of coins, dig through those drawers, and check your change. Because the next overnight millionaire could be you. Today we are diving into one of the most incredible stories in the world of coins, collectibles, and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. Imagine this: you reach into your wallet, your purse, or maybe even under the couch cushions, and you pull out what looks like an ordinary Lincoln penny, a simple 1-cent coin from 1990. Nothing fancy, right? It's small, coppery in color, the kind of coin you probably wouldn't think twice about. You might even be tempted to toss it into a coin jar or leave it as change on a countertop. But here's the unbelievable part. That very coin, that single 1990 penny, could actually be worth more than $3 million today. Yes, you heard that correctly, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, is now valued by collectors and the market at around $3.4 million. That's the kind of life-changing money that could make someone rich literally overnight. Now you might be asking yourself, how is that even possible? How can a simple penny, a coin that's been mass-produced by the billions, be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than most people will make in a lifetime? The answer lies in a combination of history, rarity, condition, and pure collector demand. Coins are like miniature time capsules. Every single one carries a story, a piece of history, and sometimes, a rare mistake or a special production detail that turns that ordinary pocket change into a fortune. And the 1990 Lincoln penny is one of those rare cases that has stunned the numismatic world. Let's rewind for a moment and talk about the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person, and it has remained in circulation ever since. Over the decades, the design has changed slightly, the metal composition has changed, and special editions have been struck, but the penny has always been a cornerstone of American coinage. Most people don't give it much thought because it's just a penny, but coin collectors know that the Lincoln series hides some of the greatest treasures in American numismatics. Now let's jump back to 1990. Millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were minted that year. To the average eye, they all look exactly the same. But among those coins, something extraordinary happened. Certain 1990 Lincoln pennies were struck with a minting error so rare, so unusual, that they instantly became legendary. These coins were minted without the tiny S mint mark that was supposed to appear under the date for proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, with a sharp, mirror-like finish. Every proof coin should have a mint mark. But in 1990, a small number were released without it. That mistake, known today as the 1990 No-S proof Lincoln cent, is one of the most famous and valuable modern rarities in U.S. coin history. What makes this error so valuable is the sheer rarity. Experts estimate that only a couple hundred of these coins were ever produced. To put that in perspective, billions of pennies exist from 1990, but only a tiny fraction were struck with this error. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except this needle is worth millions. And when you combine that rarity with the fact that coin collectors are willing to pay top dollar to own one, you have the recipe for sky-high values. So how much is one of these coins worth today? Well, auction records show that pristine examples, graded by professional coin grading services as being in top condition, have sold for staggering sums. The market has placed the value of a perfect specimen at around $3.4 million. Just imagine that. A 1-cent coin that's technically worth 3 million times its face value. That's the kind of return on investment you simply cannot find anywhere else. If you had this coin in your possession, you could sell it and buy your dream home, a luxury car, or retire comfortably without ever worrying about money again. Now let's talk about what to look for if you think you might have one of these coins. The first step is to check the date. Look closely at any penny from 1990. The rare and valuable version is the proof coin without the S mint mark. Normally, proof coins will have a small letter S beneath the date, right above the rim of the coin. If that S is missing, you may be holding one of the rarest modern pennies ever struck. Of course, authentication is key. Many pennies from 1990 look similar, and only a true expert or a grading service can confirm whether you have the genuine no S proof variety. But it costs nothing to look. Think about the possibilities. Somewhere in a coin collection, in a drawer, in an inherited jar of change, there might be a 1990 penny that's worth millions just waiting to be discovered. People have found these coins before, often by accident. Some were tucked away in proof sets sold directly by the US Mint. Others somehow slipped into circulation and ended up in the hands of unsuspecting owners. The stories are out there. Ordinary people have literally become millionaires because they noticed something unusual about a tiny coin. And that's what makes the world of coin collecting so exciting. Now let's imagine for a second what finding one of these pennies would mean for you. Let's say you're struggling to make ends meet. Maybe you're behind on bills, or you dream about paying off your mortgage. Maybe you've always wanted to travel the world or send your kids to college without worrying about money. Suddenly, you check your change and realize you're holding a $3 million coin. Overnight, your life changes. You're financially free. That's the magic of coins like this. They're tiny treasures hiding in plain sight, but beyond the money, coins like the 1990 No S penny also connect us to history. They remind us that mistakes happen even in places as precise as the US Mint. And sometimes, those mistakes turn into masterpieces that collectors chase for decades. It's a reminder that value can be hidden in the most ordinary things. If only you know what to look for. So the next time you get a handful of change, don't just brush off the pennies. Look at the dates. Look at the mint marks. Study the details. That 1-cent coin could be the difference between an ordinary day and a life-changing discovery. Remember, the 1990 Lincoln penny with no S mint mark proof is not just a coin. It's a ticket to wealth, a piece of history, and a legend in the collecting world. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the $1 million penny, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about rare coins and hidden treasures that could be sitting right in your pocket right now. Share this video with friends and family because you never know, someone you know might be holding onto one of these without realizing it. And wouldn't it be amazing if this video led to someone's big discovery? To sum it all up, the 1990 penny that looks ordinary at first glance, is in reality one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. With a current market value of around $3.4 million, it stands as proof that riches can be hiding in plain sight. All it takes is knowledge, attention to detail, and a little bit of luck. So check your pennies. Treasure every coin. Because the next time you reach into your pocket, you might just find yourself holding a fortune. Are diving into one of the most exciting discoveries in the world of coin collecting, the story of an ordinary 1-cent Lincoln penny that could turn someone into a millionaire overnight. Imagine reaching into your pocket, grabbing a handful of change and finding a coin that looks so common you barely give it a second glance, but then learning that this little copper-colored piece of metal could actually be worth $8.8 million. That is life-changing money right there, and it all comes down to one remarkable coin from 1982, the Lincoln cent. Now before we get into why this coin is so valuable, let's set the stage. The Lincoln penny has been around for over a century. It first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. From that point on, it became a staple of American currency. Everyone from kids Saving up in jars to serious collectors has held on to these tiny coins, but what makes some of them worth just a cent and others worth millions? The answer lies in small details, things like the year the metal used and even the tiniest minting mistakes. In 1982 something very important happened to the penny. The United States Mint decided to change the metal composition. For decades pennies had been mostly made of copper, but copper prices were rising and it became more expensive to produce a penny than the coin was actually worth. So in 1982 the mint switched over to using zinc with only a thin copper coating instead of solid copper. Now here's where it gets interesting. That year both copper pennies and zinc pennies were produced during the transition. This means that there are multiple varieties of 1982 pennies out there, some made of copper weighing about 3.1 grams and some made of zinc weighing just 2.5 grams. Collectors love these transition years because mistakes are more likely to happen, dies get mixed up, planchets get swapped, and varieties are created that were never meant to exist. One of the most famous and most valuable coins to ever come out of this situation is the 1982 Lincoln cent that recently shook the coin world with a jaw-dropping value of $8.8 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny found in circulation reached a value of nearly $9 million. So what makes this specific coin so valuable? Well, the rarest 1982 pennies come from a unique error. A small handful were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were made with the wrong metal or wrong size blank coin disc. These are called off-metal errors, and they are incredibly rare because the minting process is usually very strict. But sometimes a copper planchet slipped into the machinery when a zinc penny was supposed to be made, or vice versa. When a mistake like that happens and only a few coins exist, the value skyrockets. Now picture this: someone just like you or me might have found one of these coins in pocket change, maybe at a gas station, maybe in a piggy bank, maybe in a handful of coins from the grocery store. It looked just like any other Lincoln penny, but when it was examined by experts it turned out to be an extremely rare variety weighing the wrong amount, with details that set it apart from every other coin minted that year. Collectors realized they had stumbled onto something special. Auctions were held and the bidding went higher and higher until the coin was eventually valued at $8.8 million. Think about that. For a second, a coin worth 1 cent by law of the United States government turned into one of the most valuable small coins in history, enough to buy a mansion, enough to retire early, enough to change someone's life forever. This is the reason why so many people are now searching their change jars and coin collections, looking at every 1982 penny they can find, because who knows, maybe another one of these incredible rarities is still out there, waiting to be discovered. Let's talk a little more about how to identify these rare 1982 pennies. First, you need to know that there are actually 7 known varieties of 1982 cents. That is because the mint was experimenting with both the copper and zinc planchets, and there were also large date and small date versions produced in both metals. That makes things a little complicated for collectors, but also very exciting. Here's what you should do if you find a 1982 penny. First, check the date on the front of the coin. If it says 1982, put it aside. Next, you will want to weigh the coin. Copper pennies weigh about 3.1 grams and zinc pennies weigh about 2.5 grams, so a small digital scale can reveal which kind you have. Then look at the size of the numbers in the date. There are small date and large date styles, and each combination can have its own level of rarity. But here's the kicker: the real jackpot coin, the one that exploded in value, is the 1982 penny that was struck on the wrong planchet. If a coin looks slightly off or weighs differently then it might be one of these incredibly rare errors. Those are the coins that send shockwaves through the coin collecting world. Those are the coins that can turn you into a millionaire overnight. Now, of course, not every 1982 penny is worth millions. Most are still just worth 1 cent. Some of the copper versions can be worth a little more to collectors, maybe a few dollars or a few $100s if they are in pristine condition. But the dream, the ultimate find, is the ultra rare error coin that has already proven itself at auction with that unbelievable $8.8 million value. Stories like this are what make coin collecting so fascinating. You do not need to be an expert, you do not need to have thousands of dollars to get started. Sometimes all it takes is being curious enough to look closely at the change in your hand, because you never know when one tiny coin could hold a massive secret. So the next time you get pennies back at the store, do not just toss them aside. Take a closer look at the dates, pay attention to the weight, see if you spot something unusual, because the chance of finding a coin like the 1982 Lincoln cent is rare but not impossible, and if you are lucky enough to discover one, you could go from pocket change to millionaire status overnight. Imagine holding in your palm a penny worth nearly $9 million. This story is more than just about money, it is about history. It is about how something as small and overlooked as a 1 cent coin can carry enormous value and significance. It is about the thrill of discovery, the joy of collecting, and the dream that maybe, just maybe, one of those rare treasures is still out there waiting for you to find it. So keep your eyes open, check those pennies, and who knows, maybe one day you will be the one holding the next $8.8 million Lincoln cent. Are diving deep into one of the most exciting discoveries in the world of coin collecting and United States currency history, the 1-cent coin, the humble Lincoln penny, specifically a rare 1982 penny that has turned into a life-changing treasure for the lucky people who know what to look for. Believe it or not, a single Lincoln cent made in 1982 has been sold in recent years for as much as $3.8 million. And yes, you heard that correctly, a coin with a face value of 1 cent that could put you in the Millionaire Club overnight. So how can a tiny piece of copper be worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime? To answer that, we need to step back in time to the year 1982. This was a major transition year for the Lincoln cent. Up until that point, pennies had been struck primarily out of copper, about 95% copper with just a little bit of zinc mixed in. But in 1982 the United States Mint decided to change things due to rising copper prices. It was costing more than 1 cent to make a penny, so the mint switched to a cheaper composition, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. The change happened mid-year, which means that in 1982 both copper pennies and zinc pennies were produced, and collectors have identified 7 different varieties of the 1982 penny when you count the small date and large date versions in both metals. This is where the story gets really interesting, because in the middle of this switchover some rare mistakes slipped through the cracks, minting errors, transitional errors, and unusual varieties that are not supposed to exist, and these are the coins that can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. One of the most famous examples is a 1982 penny that was struck in the wrong metal or struck with the wrong die, creating a coin that is unlike the normal pennies from that year. The $3.8 million penny is believed to be a copper-based 1982 coin with the small date design that was accidentally created when the mint had already changed over to zinc planchets. It should not exist, but somehow it does, and only a handful of them have ever been found. This is the classic definition of rarity in coin collecting, a coin that is technically a mistake but so rare and so mysterious that collectors will pay astronomical sums to own it. In fact, when one of these surfaced at auction, it made headlines around the world because the hammer price was more than $3 million for something you could find in pocket change. Imagine that you go to the grocery store, you get a handful of change back, and tucked in there is a 1982 penny that looks a little different. You take a closer look, maybe it feels heavier than normal, maybe the date looks like a small date instead of a large one, maybe the color is slightly off compared to modern zinc cents. You decide to weigh it, and instead of weighing 2.5 grams like a zinc penny, it weighs about 3.1 grams. Like the older copper cents, if you had the right combination in your hand, that single penny could change your entire life overnight. Collectors today are hunting down every 1982 penny they can find because the year has become legendary in the hobby. If you have a jar of old coins, if you have rolls of pennies saved up from decades ago, it is absolutely worth the time to go through them carefully. Use a simple digital scale to check the weight. Look closely at the date to see whether it is a small date or a large date. Look for any doubling in the letters and numbers that might point to an error. Strike if you find the right one. It could be like winning the lottery without even buying a ticket. To put things into perspective, most 1982 pennies are worth face value 1 cent. A few of the copper varieties might bring you a few cents more in circulated condition, maybe a few dollars in pristine mint state condition, but the rare transitional errors, the wrong metal strikes, and the unique varieties are where the true treasure lies. The $1 million coin we are talking about was authenticated by professional grading services, which is critical when you are dealing with a coin of this magnitude. Once certified, it entered the open market where competitive bidding pushed the price into the multi-million-dollar range. Think about that for a moment. The penny is something most people barely notice anymore. We throw them in a change jar, we let them pile up in the car or in couch cushions, and yet within this everyday coinage exists the possibility of a once-in-a-lifetime find, and that is why stories like the 1982 penny continue to fuel interest in coin collecting across generations. It proves that treasure hunting is not just something you see in movies. You can literally uncover wealth in your own pocket change. Now let's talk about what makes the small date variety stand out. When you compare the small date and large date side by side, you will notice the number 2 in the date looks different on the small date. It has a more delicate curve, and the top of the number aligns differently with the other digits. In the large date version, the numbers look heavier, thicker, and bolder, so learning to recognize the subtle differences is key for collectors. When you combine that small date with a copper planchet instead of a zinc one, you have the magic recipe for the $1 million penny. It is also worth mentioning that condition plays a role. The Higher the grade, the sharper the details, the more luster the coin has, the more collectors are willing to pay. But in the case of the $3.8 million penny, rarity outweighs almost everything, because even in circulated condition such a coin would be worth a fortune simply because it should not exist. Coin dealers and grading services always recommend handling pennies like this with care. If you think you might have a rare 1982 cent, do not clean it, do not scratch it, just place it in a protective holder and have it examined by professionals. The value can swing dramatically based on originality and eye appeal, and cleaning a rare coin can actually reduce its value drastically. As of today, the buzz around the 1982 Lincoln cent continues. Collectors are actively searching coin rolls bought from banks, they are digging through inherited jars of change, and they are buying rolls of unsearched pennies online, all in hopes of finding that magical combination of date and metal that could set them up for life. The internet is full of stories of people who found coins worth thousands just by paying attention, and with the right discovery you could join the ranks of those who cashed in big. So the next time you see a penny on the ground or in your pocket, do not ignore it. It might just be the most valuable coin you will ever hold. The 1982 Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how history, economics, and human error combine to create a modern-day treasure, a coin that is still circulating, a coin that looks ordinary but hides extraordinary value, and who knows, maybe the next person to find one will be you. So check your change, weigh your pennies, learn the difference between small date and large date varieties, and always keep an eye out, because 1 cent could be worth $3.8 million, and that is what makes the hobby of coin collecting so thrilling. What other area of life gives you the chance to turn pocket change into a mansion, a dream car, or financial freedom almost overnight? The 1982 penny proves that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. Have you ever looked down at a simple copper penny and thought to yourself, what if this tiny little coin in my pocket was worth millions of dollars? Most people walk past pennies every single day. They leave them on the ground. They toss them in change jars. They even refuse to pick them up because they believe a penny has no value. But what if I told you, hiding in circulation, still slipping through people's hands in everyday transactions, there is a single Lincoln 1 cent coin from 1981 that carries a staggering market value of over $8.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 1 cent coin, something so ordinary, something so overlooked, has the power to make someone rich overnight. The story of the 1981 Lincoln penny is one of mystery, rarity, and incredible fortune. To understand why this particular coin could fetch such a jaw-dropping price, you have to take a step back in time. The year was 1981, and the United States Mint was preparing for a major transition. Pennies had traditionally been struck in a composition of 95% copper. But rising metal costs were making copper cents more expensive to produce than the face value of the coin itself. That meant the Mint was planning to switch to a cheaper composition, copper-plated zinc, beginning in 1982. The year 1981 was the very last full year of the classic copper Lincoln penny. Millions of these coins were produced, and to the average eye, they all look the same. But somewhere in that massive mintage, a tiny handful of coins were struck with subtle differences, strange die varieties, minting errors, and unique features that made them unlike any other penny before or after. Collectors and experts have scoured through endless piles of 1981 pennies looking for these legendary rarities. Some show unusual doubling in the lettering, a bold doubling on words like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Others reveal misaligned strikes, unusual mint marks, or experimental planchets that slipped through the presses. And then there are the rumors, the whispers in the collecting community of a very special 1981 Lincoln cent that was struck in error on a transitional planchet, perhaps even a coin that never should have left the mint. That coin, the one believed to exist in only 1 or 2 examples, is the penny that has been valued at an astonishing $8.3 million. Think about that for a second. A coin that millions of people ignored, a coin that might be sitting in a piggy bank, a coin that could be hiding in a coffee can in someone's garage, worth more than most houses, worth more than most sports cars, worth more than a lifetime of paychecks. Imagine walking into a coin shop or sending a penny off for grading and being told that your 1 cent piece is a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that could change your financial future forever. Overnight, you go from having a single cent to having millions of dollars in your pocket. The current coin market is hotter than ever. Rare coins are breaking records at auctions around the world. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums of money for coins with historical significance, minting oddities, and vanishing rarity. The Lincoln cent, one of the longest-running coin series in American history, holds a special place in people's hearts. It was designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, billions upon billions of pennies have been produced, and yet, it is the tiniest differences, the rarest quirks, the accidents of history that make a handful of them priceless. The 1981 Lincoln cent, valued at over $8 million, is one of those legendary coins. So how do you know if you have the right penny? First, check the date. It has to read 1981, not 1982, not 1980. Next, look closely at the mint mark, the tiny letter below the date. Some varieties were struck in Philadelphia, others in Denver or San Francisco. Then examine the coin under magnification. Are there signs of doubling? Is the strike unusual? Does the color or the weight feel different? Copper cents weigh about 3.1 grams, while zinc cents weigh only 2.5 grams. A difference like that can reveal whether you are holding something special, but the truth is, the single most valuable 1981 Lincoln penny may look completely normal to the naked eye. That's the beauty and the mystery of it. It might take a professional grader, a high-powered microscope, or a specialized scale to reveal the treasure you've been carrying around unknowingly. Every single coin collector dreams of this moment, the moment they find that one coin that elevates them from ordinary life to extraordinary wealth. And for the lucky finder of the $8.3,001,981 Lincoln cent, that dream becomes a reality. Now think about where you last saw your change. The coins in your car's cup holder. The coins sitting at the bottom of your drawer. The jar of pennies you've been meaning to roll up for the bank. Inside those forgotten coins could be the opportunity of a lifetime. History has shown us again and again that treasures often hide in plain sight. The rarest coins are not always behind glass cases in museums. Sometimes, they are slipping through circulation, waiting for the sharp-eyed collector, the curious soul, or even the unsuspecting person to stumble upon them. Every time you get change back from a purchase, every time a cashier hands you coins, every time you see a penny lying on the ground, remember this story. That coin could be the one. That coin could be the $8.3 million penny. A piece of copper that transforms your life in an instant. Imagine holding a piece of history, a coin linked to one of the most iconic American presidents, a coin produced at the turning point of U.S. mint history, a coin so rare that its existence alone reshapes what people believe about collecting. The 1981 Lincoln penny is more than just money. It is a legend, a mystery, and a symbol of possibility. It is proof that fortune can appear in the most unexpected places. The idea that something so small, so ordinary, can be worth so much should inspire all of us to look closer, to pay attention, to never overlook what seems insignificant. Because sometimes, greatness hides in the simplest things. So the next time you see a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't leave it behind. Don't say it isn't worth bending down for. Because if fate smiles on you, if luck places that extraordinary coin in your hand, you could be holding a fortune. A single cent that unlocks $8.3 million. A penny that makes you rich overnight. A story you will tell for the rest of your life.